Isn't it strange, Mia? Like Japan's got just 3% of Japanese born overseas. We've got 30% of Australians born overseas, but they have franker talks about, immigrants needing to fit in and wanting to limit immigration than we do.
Well, there's a town in Saitama Prefecture.
Sorry. No, that's to Mia. Mia, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's an interesting point, Andrew, and of course, in Japan, they're having these talks, and that's been the limiting point here in Australia, is that up until now, and even now with bodies like the ABC who are screaming racist when anyone wants to actually start discussing the surge of migration in Australia and the impacts that's having on the people who are here, you get called a racist. Reality is mainstream Australians are absolutely sick of that. We did some polling at the IPA and we found that 70% of Australians thought that migration needed to be paused until social infrastructure and economic infrastructure could catch up. That's the reality. So the ABC can sit there and call us all racist, but that is how mainstream Australians feel. At the end of the day, it is an absolute testament that there are so many people who want to come into this country, but unless we can get migration under control, unless it is planned for, and unless it is targeted toward areas of economic need, then the quality of life for everyone living in Australia, whether you were born here or whether you are a new arrival, that will decline.
Mike, you've spent more than half your working life, I believe, in Japan. Do you see them self-flagellating about their past? And they've got a past that's harder to get over, what with World War II and all that, than we do. Do you see them flagellating themselves as much as we do and calling each other racist or even daring to suggest that foreigners should fit in?
Not in the slightest. And it was interesting, you mentioned earlier in the show, former Ambassador Yamagami making points that when a Chinese diplomat threatens to behead the Prime Minister, that it took 2, 3, 4 days for us to finally issue a response. But all that did is galvanise the Japanese people to rally even harder behind Prime Minister Takaichi, because they believe they're so proud of their nation, their history. Of course, they have some troubles, but at the same time, if you go to Japan, they are one of the loveliest people you can possibly imagine. Words like omotenashi, which means kindness, or moyari, which means to help out your fellow neighbours and so on. That's basically the core of the culture, and that's why I think so many people enjoy going there. We're actually having a over-tourism backlash in Japan, because more and more tourists are deciding to do ridiculous TikTok videos aboard subway trains, singing and carrying on like buffoons. We even had a situation where the Australian Embassy had to issue a letter to visitors to make sure that during the Obon season, where people go to clean the graves of their ancestors and put ceremonial beer or wine or chips or whatever it is on top of the gravestones, we had Aussie tourists stealing the beers off the top of these sorts of things. And this is where the culture...
Sake, Mike.
But this is exactly where the Japanese are now with tourism. It's like, even we want our tourists to fit in when they come and visit. We don't have a problem with tourists coming in.
Good stuff.
But, this is the sort of people we're having.
There's a life lesson for Australians, particularly the ones that were arrested in Bali with that porn star. I mean, God, how embarrassing we are in Bali. Mia Schlicht, Mike Newman, thank you so much to you both.